Oh, and now it's working. Okay, so quiet. Hello, my peeps. Oh, freaking technology. That's all I can say. I did the exact same thing I did on Tuesday. And the first time I tried it, it said, please grant permissions. And I thought, oh, we've already been through this. And I do yell at my computer and talk to my computer like it's at varying different times, and an annoying grown up or a temperamental toddler. But it seems when I did the same thing a second time to show my IT department / son that it wasn't working, it worked. So go figure, technology. Hi everyone. I'm stalling because my comments haven't come up yet. Can you tell? It's Tracey Stewart here, your independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and the paper pusher. Stand by one moment. Merrick Rascal is eyeing up that package you just stuck on George. Okay, he's supposed to be keeping the dog distracted, but last time we put some of his school supply packages up on by our front entry, the dog made it his mission to pull them down and shred what the packaging and partially what was inside of them. So this is my Friday little graphic, and I've decided that I have to come up with some more generic names for what I do, because Friday was going to be like a real quick half-hour products on parade showcase one thing. Yeah, I can't do that. Sometimes I can do that, but not always. And by Friday, I'm just having way more fun. And to give you an idea what we're going to do today, oh, you can't see as much. My desk is just covered in treat stuff right now. And I'm not really using one product today, but I did keep this out. So instead, I think I'm just going to start calling my Fridays Friday Fun. Because we're going to do whatever I find fun, because it's Friday, and usually by then it's been a long week. Here's a hint of what I had the most fun with last night, though. The new truck punch. And I've been calling it the red truck. And no, it does not have to be red, although I did make it in red. But look, a white one. Which quite honestly is what every vehicle out there is, right? Okay, my comments have finally come out. So if it's commenting, that would be nice. And I know they're working. But right now, the screen has finally just got to the point of opening up. But I just started talking. So yeah, there's no way I'm sticking to the half hour. That was my goal. 12:15 to 12:45. Fit in a little light entertainment during your Friday lunch hour. I got too much to show you. That's just the plain and simple of it. So the other day when I was doing my live, let's try to focus here, Tracey. Because who can I ramble, right? I popped out one of these little guys off my camera stand and said, I can take any die cut and I just make it into a treat holder. And this one, it didn't have the things in it because they had fallen out at the time, but I found a stash of them when I was looking for something else. So in this case, it's got two little foil wrapped hearts. And this is not like a perfect square. So foil hearts just fit in perfectly. And yes, they coordinated with the little tag. So I got asked, how do I do that? And I have been asked many times before, thank you, dear. My lovely son / IT department, Merrick Begg, has sometimes got to be told twice. He's already been eyeing it up. Has just brought me a cup of tea because I was running behind getting everything ready. And at some point, the voice is going to go. Anyways, yeah, so I get asked frequently about how I make them, and I have so much fun with them. And like I said, I've got like 50 products to show you. I did start making new stuff, and the two newest ones I made, oh, I'm so happy with. And then the third one I didn't even finish because I had so many ideas and everything was going. But I'm going to show you the sort of 3 different ways that these come about. I had some samples for you of like things to put in them. So these are some hearts that with the old strawberry punch we used to have. You can punch out just the stem and put it on a heart, and now you have a strawberry. So now you want some like fall or fruity little cute things. There you go. Ferrero Rocher's, always a popular one. I do try to make sure that everything in them is individually wrapped. I will show you one where it's not, and I will tell you it was pre-COVID. I always used to try to find pre-wrapped. Since COVID, I'm not sure if I've actually given anybody, unless it's a group of people that I'm like friends with and they know how meticulous I am. When I clean and when I cook and stuff like, or when I cook or make treats or stuff like that, I have like little tongs and sponges, and I wash my hand 87 times, and I pull my hair back usually so I don't have to risk hair getting in them. Like, I'm very particular about making sure that nothing touches a treat that somebody gets. So if I can find individually wrapped, that's awesome. But if I can't, in the past I did like add them, so you'll see one of those. But these you can find hit and miss. These are not the cheapest things, but they are delicious. And if you're making a Canadian treat or a fall treat, these little like maple flavored maple leaves, like maple syrup maple leaves, are delicious. And then these are just, I get lots of stuff at like Dollarama and Dollar Tree. You got to look at it, look at the ingredients. Don't buy a ton of it till you've tried it. And then some things will surprise you. But like these little individual wrapped little gummies were a big hit. What did I have those for Easter, maybe? I'm trying to think what the last holiday was. They were on the family treats. I tend to make these treat holders for family dinners. Every class you come to of mine, there's a treat holder, like a table treat, because I think you should have snacks. Craft sales, gifts. I like to hand out to people. People get very excited about some things, like tiny things. So these are the treat holders. I might have shown these before that we had at our midweek escape yesterday. And these were made with, I'm pretty sure the set was called Rise and Shine. It's an old retired set, but it makes little coffee cups. And then there's a couple chocolates in there. And I made them try to look like, like the little white touristy mugs. That's why they're white. So this is the idea of what I'm gonna show you. You can take, like I said, most things. These were made this spring using the t-shirt die, and they were made just before the Everyday Thanks stamp set came out, because I can tell you it would have been a whole lot easier to put a stethoscope on this thing with the stamp than with this. Good morning, Kathy. Sometimes I get asked about the treats that go in them, right? So I use whatever. Sometimes I have a treat and fit the holder to it. Sometimes I just make a holder and then find something that'll fit in it. Sometimes it's a coordinated effort, such as for the medical personnel. And I made some of these to give to the nurses and medical staff that took care of my dad at hospice. And also gave them to a friend whose brother is in ICU and has been for a while, to give to those medical staff. And so what do these have in them? Lifesavers, right? Those go together. Not all treats have to be candy. I will show you that at one point, and I do know from asking some nurse friends that hand cream is greatly appreciated because the hospitals don't always have it or have best. And they wash their hands a lot. And so hand cream is good. So it also was meant to fit that. And at first I thought, well, I'm going to do both. I'm going to put hand cream and then throw some chocolates. But these little hand creams, I think, have a bit of a smell to them. So I had to have one or the other. And then once I finally did find the Lifesavers, I opted for Lifesavers. So we did that. This was the apron from, I think it was called Apron of Love. This was a few years ago now. And it was like a cooking set, but I turned it into the black demonstrator apron that Stampin' Up! Demonstrators can get for a demonstrator event. And the original one had like the Halloween size chocolate bars in it and like a Tic Tac thing. But I do every now and again, I will just like dump out all the chocolate in it. I'll show you one of the other ones that's hard as a rock, because they kind of get old. So this one I did, I put in like, so now, and even as a demonstrator, you're doing lots of in-person events and stuff. Yeah, hand cream and chapstick, lots of talking, lots of hand washing. So, and I think at the time, and it fell out and I didn't have time. There's also, I have a different stamp set that has a little silver scissors in it. I think I had silver scissors tucked in this little pocket, but they have since fallen out. A couple of those. Oh, okay, so here's another one. This one was a handmade one. This was my coffee cup I made at Christmas last year. So sometimes you need bigger treat holders. This one holds a Merci chocolate. I can cheat and look at the name and say Biscoff because I call them airplane cookies, and one of the Via coffees, right? And I basically just made the same box we're going to make. And then before I sealed this one side, this is actually the die cut, this handle. And I cut two of them out and I stuck them together so it'd be a little bit stronger. And can you pick it up by this? Yes. Would it last for very long? No. So in this case, I just made the box with this little piece of die cut. But I mean, there's all sorts of coffee ones, right? If you just want a little treat, you want a little treat holder. If you're trying to make something much bigger, then there's like a whole little snack in a box. Because I had a coffee cup, I needed to make a tea bag. So this tea bag, and I just like hand cut a box that looks like a tea bag, has honey, a tea bag, and the same set of cookies inside of it. And it's just tied shut. So I'm going to show you one of the treats we're making today is with a die cut, but similar shape. So you can make a slightly smaller version of this. The honey would stick out a bit, but that would be fine with one of the things we're doing today. These are I'm moving these out of the way as I go. Here, I'm going to move here. So this is in no particular order, but I have them all out either to show you a sample or to remember to tell you something. So that's how it goes. So the next one, do I have this out? To remember to tell you that as much as I just said, I can make a treat holder out of every die cut or punched shape. They don't always work as planned. So this original plan for this one was to take these two leaves and make a little box and then put the monkey on the front and stick banana candies, like a little package of banana candies or something like that in it. It didn't work because the cuts in the leaf are so small that when I tried to do anything, I was going to have like such a small opening that I wasn't going to be able to make, like I wasn't going to be able to put anything in it. So then I switched it and I turned it into these, which was then just going to be tags on bags of banana candies, which then morphed because I couldn't find banana candies. And funny enough, I did find banana candies yesterday, not looking for them. They were just like on an end cap at the grocery store when I went to get milk. And I found this whole big thing of candies. And I looked and I was like, oh my God, they have banana ones. And so they were in little bags, like they weren't sealed bags. So that I would, but depending on who they were going for. But when I picked them up, they looked almost like the consistency of marzipan, but they appeared to have been rolled in chocolate. But they were definitely banana shapes. The tag said banana candies. But these things were super heavy. So I have no idea what they tasted like or what they were made of or what. Just because it's cute and matches, you still want whatever they eat to taste good. And that thing, just the weight of it grossed me out. And I thought, I don't know what that is. But so in the end, this became the tag. And I just bought Coffee Crisp chocolate bars, like the Halloween size. There's probably a better name for that. Snack size, Halloween size. And stuck them on the back because they were yellow. I could have bought O. Henry, but I was going to an event where I didn't know everybody. And O. Henry has peanuts in it. So if I know there's no nut allergies, and these were grown-ups, so you would think grown-ups would know, but I'm still cautious with the more severe allergies. So yeah, I ended up just going with Coffee Crisp. Not everybody likes them, but it was the thought that counts. And I can't even eat Coffee Crisp because they're not gluten-free. So I did actually have a couple Mars bars with me to swap out if somebody went, oh, that's cute. I wish I could eat it. It's not gluten-free. I could like whip out a gluten-free chocolate bar and say, here you go. But anyways, yeah, so I just ended up just sticking a chocolate bar on the back. So you could always make it work, but it may not work the way you originally planned. This is an old set, something cafe, coffee cafe, something. And it has like the hot coffee lid, plus it has this smoothie lid. And I'm going to make some of these for the smoothie shop that we did our midweek break at yesterday. Because I can tell you, I love to make cards. So that alone makes it like a good day. But the key lime pie smoothie that I had post crafting yesterday, oh my goodness, it was so good. And my friend had a smoothie bowl and it looked delicious. And she said it was, but oh my goodness. So, but I figure I have to make some stuff. Anyways, this was an end of summer treat or like end of class treat for my son's class one year. And I love teachers and God bless anybody who's a teacher or works in a school. I've said that before. I could never do it. Like, God bless you for doing it. So when I give treats for kids, I make sure like at school, and I'm guessing I always give them to my son and tell my son he had to give them to the teacher, and the teacher would tell them they could hand them out. Because I'm guessing end of day, because sugared up kids, your challenges are hard enough as it is. So they're probably small. So these are these most delicious, like they're slightly sour, but these are these like popsicle gummies that you can get at Dollarama that are so good. But I can tell you that this was, okay, my son's about to start grade 10. These might have been grade 3 or grade 4. And these gummies are so hard, I can't even bend them. Like they're like gummies. But in this case, because I was making them for the kids, I just like I said, pre-COVID, just put a couple of them in one of these little bags and stuck it to the back. I could have easily made a second one and popped it in as a treat holder, but they also had to be durable enough to survive the getting to school, getting handed out part. So that's another way to do it, similar to the tag. This is the apple punch, which I think is also meant to be a pumpkin. Those were, I think these were thank yous at a fall class, but you could easily make them thank yous for like school people because you know, the apple symbol. This was, and the difference that I'm going to show you is there's like 3 ways to like what to stick between the cuts. I guess is what we're going with, but just to show you, there's lots of different ideas. These were, I think there might have been a 3rd egg in here originally, but these were Easter baskets. This, I still have this set of dies. This dies are amazing. So yes, cut out the basket, cut out the thing. This one is a box that I just stuck them to because they're a little bit finer. Some Easter eggs. We have that option. The little tulip punch. And this one is also, because it's so small, it's just like a little box stuck between the punch outs. You remember the, I don't know if you remember, if you're old enough like me, I think it was $1.44 day at Woolworth, I think is what it was. And each year at Valentine's, my mom would go get us the cardboard, like it was a big Valentine heart. It was probably this big, right? But it only had like 6 chocolates in it, but it pulled apart like this. It was like a square box that just had hearts on top. So I made these for a demonstrator event years ago when we went to Vancouver. I think this was the last demo event I went to before COVID. And this one was also full of Easter eggs, but instead of being at Valentine's, it was at Easter, so I made it Easter theme. Well, these are just oval die cuts with, and this one is like a 2-part box, which I'm not making this fancy 2-part box, but just to know you can. Once you start figuring out boxes and you play with them enough, then oh my goodness, off you go. This was one of my ones that took many hours to finally figure out. So this was the Greatest Journey die cuts. And again, 4-string, you know, I had to make it work. So I made him a little tent, and this is an old Christmas thing that I love with, it's got a sleigh and a reindeer and a tree, but I absolutely love this tree. So I was making my little camping scene, whatever candies I was putting in here, it felt weird to me. You didn't want to have the tent open because, you know, bears and rain. So, and I realized it's a candy holder. Sometimes I overthink. So I actually made a cover on this one that like opened up and then tucked in, and then the candies were underneath. So, you know, as much time and energy and imagination as you have, that is your limit on treat holders. That's when I'm starting to get my own stuff in my own way. So I gotta move a few things here. And while I move, I'm just gonna have to have a sip of tea because yes. Okay, 2 sips of tea. Then I'm gonna start showing you how to make some of this stuff. So this is another simple way to do a treat holder. This is a box, and I'm basically going to show you how to make this box. This first one up is a box, and then it's just a different size. And then I took the very cool die cuts. See, I love these 4 square flowers or something they were, and just stuck the die cuts to the box. And then this has tea bag and cookie in it. So sometimes you're not really hiding the box. Sometimes you just make a box and stick stuff on it. There's so many options, and what I will tell you now is my plan is to take all of these treat holders and take a picture and write out the, okay, one more. There's also a very simple, and I'll show you this before I start showing you some of the other stuff. So here's a very simple treat holder, and I saw it, I don't know, 10 years ago. I just knocked a piece of cardboard on the floor, and the dog just very leisurely came in, grabbed it, and walked away with it because he's obsessed with paper, and he now has to go shred it. He doesn't eat it, he just likes to shred it, and then he'll come back and see if I dropped anything else. So anyways, yeah, probably 10 years ago I saw this, and at the time it had I think it had a flower. It had a pretty outside, and then a Bible quote on the inside. But I changed this to make the same thing, end of summer present for like my son's class one year. And I just printed the labels on the printer. So it says the Big Book of Summer Fun. And then when you untie it, it says 2 Hershey's Nuggets. And these are the milk chocolate only ones. So no nuts because it was going to a school. Woo, school's out. Right? So this is, I mean, these are 2 squares with some creative scoring and 2 little things. And then on the back, it just says see you in September. Right? And these were, I mean, this was one of the easiest treats. The hardest part was figuring out where to put the score lines so that the school's out would fold and then open like I wanted it to. Okay, so you can make treat holders without even having die cuts. Okay, we're getting to the actual how to do it here in a second, but there's just so many things to show you. So I'll show you, I have 2 of the new products that I'm going to show you. Now, if you are coming to the September class, when I tell you to avert your eyes, because you're going to see the treat holder that's going on the table for everybody who comes to the class, the table treat. So if you don't want to see it ahead of time, close your eyes. If you want to see it, maybe you'll come so you can have the treat holder, because I got to tell you, oh my God, is it cute? If I do say so myself. Okay, so bear punch. It does not matter that his feet are jagged. I will make this. How about I turned over so you can see what I will make this into a treat holder before I'm done. This one, I did mention some of these when I was doing my unboxing, but you see the crypt in this one and the little tombstone. Yep, treat holders. This one, this is the die set. If you upgrade for our extravaganza, this is the die set you get. There's actually a whole other sheet behind it. This one in particular, this one I think is going to be a table treat for our family Christmas this year, where this is going to be like this. I'm going to trim this off. Everybody's name is going to be on the front. This treats in behind, because I absolutely love this die. So that's going to be a treat holder. This Noel, that's what it says, is going to be a treat holder. It might end up being a treat holder much like this. A box, and then instead of flowers, it might say Noel on it. I'm not sure, but somehow it's going on a treat holder. This is going to end up either being a treat holder, nativity, and I have such a great idea with window sheets and putting it in between, and it might end up being a note card holder. I think it's too narrow to be a card holder the way I'm envisioning it, but it could end up being, but it'll be something. This is going to be many somethings. And we're using this today. We're using this tag for one of them today. But I see many trees. So like this tree could easily be made into a treat holder, sort of like this, like an opening box one. It could easily be just like one of the things we're going to do today with this. So for a taller treat, this would work. But because there's so many different ones of them, I'm kind of wondering if 2 or 3 of them, if they will be small enough that I can like fit them inside of each other, like the Russian nesting dolls. I don't know. But anyways, for sure it's going to be something. But 2 of the other ones that are in the catalog, and I have like some little tips I found as I was going along. So here's some of the bits and pieces. I've already made these treat holders to show you, and then I'm going to show you how I made them. And then this one I never did finish. I'll show you. Because there's kind of 3 ways to join the pieces to make them into a treat holder, like basic ways. The 3 easiest ways, I guess, is what I'm going to show you. But are you ready for it? Because darn did this turn out well. I will also preface and be a brat and make you wait a second longer. I really wish that I could find, because my original plan for this, and I'm hoping by September, the end of September, the Christmas candy will be out. Because what I really envision going in the back of this treat holder is little, like, especially Purdy's has them, like the little flat foil wrapped chocolates. But I want 2 of those that look like trees, and I can put like the flat sides together and put them in the back. But in the meantime, I have used Hershey's Kisses, leftover green Hershey's Kisses, that leftover from when? I had no idea. But I kind of thought they looked like trees, because I kind of thought that the little red truck needed to be loaded with trees. Okay, why is it that the smaller something is, the cuter it is? And I went to town on this truck. I didn't just make a truck. I probably should have stamped it, but instead I was just going to town with the punch. So I made the truck. I punched out extra fenders. I punched out the tires. I made little hubcaps. And if I could not spill everything on my desk. So you can see I've got some layers, and I did it on both sides and the window. So there's lots of dimensions. So maybe it doesn't show as much on there. And then it's intended to look like it's full of trees. And I did actually have a fair bit of debate in my own head when I was making this about whether I wanted to like close the front off so the trees were just in the back. Here, I'll take the trees out. Okay, so this is what it looks like, right? So did I actually want to just like put a cover here or here, so that like just the back had stuff in it? But then it was getting smaller and smaller. So I decided, no, I'm going to leave it as big as I can, so I can, because I don't ever like to give one of something. 2 minimum, preferably 3, unless it's something really big. So in this case, I really wanted to put 3 of these little Hershey's Kisses in here. So I don't know. I got to tell you, I love how it turned out. Okay, so I'm going to try to put that there. So this is the first one I'm going to show you how to make. So one of the first things I do, especially when I'm like trying something that's an odder shape, some of this stuff I can just right off the bat, I just start going and making it with the regular stuff because I know how it's going to work out. This one, because the truck was so bumpy and stuff, for technical term, I did make a trial one. And I also, no matter how many of these I make math mistakes all the time. So you will trial and error, you will waste a little bit of paper, and you will make math mistakes. I can almost guarantee it. But whatever, it's fun to process. I can't make this truck focus. I was trying to show you. Oh, I just gotta be more patient. Look how big my hands look. Anyways, you can't quite see it, but right here there's a score line, and it runs all the way down. Oh, you can almost see it there. That's because when I was making my template, I screwed up my math. Right? So like I said, it still happens. So this is what I did. So I made a little template out of this to begin with, just to make sure, and partially because the truck is so small, to make sure that it was going to be worth it and I could actually fit something in it. So I did make a template. I don't always. But what you can see here is that it's a box. Well, maybe you can't, but I'm going to endeavor. So it's a box. I'm going to peel part of it off. And then I stuck these on. The second technique I'm going to show you you can just put like 3 sides between the two of them. But because this one was as small as it was, I made the box. How did I make the box, you say? Are you ready for some math? Did I tell you to bring a pencil and a ruler and some scrap paper? Okay, so this is going to work for whatever you do. I want to make this apple. I'm going to measure the same way. I want to make whatever. I'm measuring it the same way. So here's my truck, right? So I'm going to measure. I'm going to take my ruler, and this is my favorite ruler because it has inches and it has centimeters, and you can look at like both ways, and that's why it's got my name on it. Nobody steals it, so it's my Tracey ruler. Okay, so I'm going to look, and I'm looking at this die cut. So my first measurement, I'm trying to figure out how wide this way, and so I have to stay like there's bumpers here and flat. So I'm going to say, so I don't want to be too close to the edge. So in this case, I got about 2 inches. So I'm writing down 2 inches, and I write my measurements: width, height, depth. So I know when I write this down that this, I can also tell by looking that it's 2 inches. So then I'm going to turn it this way. So now that I've turned it this way, the widest point of this die cut is really the box, not the tire, but kind of where the box is. Like this is much wider. This is going to be the narrowest part. So, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm just kind of setting my ruler on it and realizing that I probably don't want to go bigger than 1/2 inch. I don't know if I will ever get that to focus. You can kind of see. So I'm just kind of like eyeballing it to see along this box, 1/2 inch. So 2 by 1/2 inch. So that's the measurement I need to start. Then I need to decide, and I don't always, I said this earlier, I don't always know what my candy is first. Sometimes I have a specific one. Sometimes I decide, let's see how it fits. Sometimes there's a limit. Like if I had made this, here, I'll use this one so I don't spill anything. If I had made this box 2 inches wide, I think it would look funny. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it would look awesome. But it just strikes me that it would look funny. But at a certain point, if I make it too big and I put a lot of stuff in it, because the bigger it is, the more you're filling it with, then I feel like I would eventually just kind of like make it collapse and go like this. Right? So I think there is kind of a limit. So in this case, I want it to all be sort of relatively to scale. Like if the truck is this big, it's only going to be so wide before it starts to look like an odd shape. So in this case, and I didn't quite make it wide enough to fit these. It would have had to have been like 1 inch wide to fit these. I made it 3/4 inch though. And it's just guessing, trial and error, you know. So in this case, for my depth, I went with 3/4 inch. So now I need to make a box. And here is simply how you make a box. And I do this. This is just a scrap piece of paper. And I do this every time I make a new one. I draw a picture. And if I'd actually thought of it beforehand, I could pull out a bunch of my like scrap sheet, and I have like an entire, well, these aren't boxes, but I always have something like this. Like when I did the trial and error part and I figured out, oh, this one doesn't have the measurements, but I usually just take like whatever template or whatever scrap of paper, write on it. And then it goes in my box of templates, and I just rifle through. Like this one would actually say would say red truck treat, right? So I know what it is later. But if I have something similar in size, then I can just use the same box, right? Okay, so what I know is I want a 3/4 inch. I did this wrong last time. That's what I have to make sure I do right this time. Okay, I'm going to do it the way I normally do it instead of doing it in the middle. Okay, so this is what I need is for my box, right? I need a 1/2 inch on this side. I need 3/4 inch across, and I need 1/2 inch up. So I want to go 1/2 inch. I want to add 3/4 inch, and I want this to be 1/2 inch. So when I'm scoring my piece of paper, 1/2 inch plus 3/4 inch is 1 1/4. So if I start at 0, I add a 1/2 inch, I add 3/4 inch, and then I add my other 1/2 inch for this one. My total width of my piece of paper is 1 3/4. Like, or the, I guess, height of my piece of paper is that. Going this way, I know that I need the 1/2 inch because I'm going to score another 1/2 inch over here. I need a 1/2 inch that goes up this way. And then I need two inches across, right? So this piece going all the way across my box is 2 inches. So this is 2. So I'm going to score this one at 2.5. And then I need my other little 1/2 inch flap, which makes this piece of paper 3. Just trust me on that. I might have lost you a bit on it. I find it hard, and this is why I'm not a teacher. I find it really hard. If it makes total sense in my head, I sometimes cannot make it make total sense in somebody else's head. But with any luck, you'll see as we go, because I'm going to do this 3 more times, just in slightly varying different things. I'm sorry, this is a score line. And hopefully in the end, it makes sense. And the thing is, the measurements are going to be different each treat holder, or potentially different each treat holder. So each time you just kind of have to look how wide across it is. So this one here, because I made this one, it was a box as well. I'm going to go with the widest part. And I mean, the widest part is somewhere down here at the bottom. But you see how I kind of like just left little feet there? I don't know if you can see that. Right? So in this case, like this box is 1 1/4 by 1 1/4. So this box is, or this is just a strip, but it's 1 1/4. So even at whatever I'm measuring on here, whatever things I go with, you just got to find the thing that's going to work. Right? So each time you're going to measure, and each time you're going to figure what size is. So I have figured this out. Here's my sizes. Now I have to move this over because this is one of the tricks I have with making treats, is having enough room on my desk for my scorer. Okay, this is not going to be flat, so let's see how this works. But I was trying to make it so you can actually see. So if you are making, so I have some tips for you. Here's a large tip. If you are making a whole bunch of treat boxes and you're going to be scoring, pop out your cutting blade and just set it on your desk, because then at no point will you accidentally cut instead of score one of your pieces and have to start over. Yes, that is experience speaking. Okay, so I've cut this piece of paper, and this piece of paper is 3 inches by 1 3/4 inch. Right? That was my number. I got 3 by 1 3/4. So this is the size of the paper. I know that this is the finished dimension and this is the size. So I don't actually usually write these things down, but for the sake of today, here, because I don't know, maybe I didn't say this yet. Yes, my intent is to get my website up and going and have a section of like where there'll be a gallery and where there'll be a tutorial section. And I might come up with fun names to call them, because I think it's more fun to say this, like the section is probably going to be called, this is what it looks like. And then there'll be another tab that says, this is how to do it, and where the tutorials will be, because that's me. So on the this is how to do it section, you would have like all these measurements and stuff. And on the this is what it looks like section, you'd have a picture of this cute little red truck. For today, because this is a new punch, and if you want to make it, I will take a picture of this, but this is all the instruction you're getting, right? So, because right now I just don't have time. I have like samples to make for 8 different events, and I just don't have time to go through and put all of the measurements of all of the treats. So whatever I do today, whatever scrap I end up with, I will take a picture of the product and take a picture of whatever. But I do have plans to make a whole bunch of tutorials, and as new things come up, I will do them, and I might even go back and do some of the back ones. But for now, this is going to be what you're going to get. So I've even written a few extra things on it. Okay, so now I want to score. If I'm scoring anything less than 1.5 inches, I tend to use this side of the scoring thing because it's easier. It does get tricky to score small pieces. If I was making 10 of these trucks, I would figure out how big this needed to be, like how big of a piece of paper. Oh, okay, the back's empty. I will roughly do this because, okay, what did I say? 3 by 1 3/4. So here's my sheet of cardstock. And I want to make 3 by 1 3/4. Do I want to know how many of these truck boxes can I get out of a sheet of cardstock? I'll tell you. So I'm going to go across like this. Sorry, just a minute. This is in my way. Making it so I can't draw normally. Okay, so if I go like this, I know I can make 3. This is 3, 6, 9. So I got a 2-inch off strip. All right. By 1 3/4 is what I said. So, and this is 8.5. So 1 3/4. So that is 1 3/4, and 1 3/4 is 3.5. 3.5 and 3.5 is 7.5. And 3.5. I can make 6 of them with a strip. So I'm going to have a strip off at the side here. And then I'm going to go like this and make 6 different things. So 6 times 1 3/4 is, if I did my math correctly, is going to be 7.5. So these are all 1 3/4 strips. And this I said was 7.5. So this is going to be like a little 1/2-inch strip. So this is my 8.5 by 11. Now, because this is a 2-inch strip, I could go through and actually cut a couple more. I could cut 2 more like 3-inch strips out of it this way, and then just trim it down to 1 3/4. So 6, 8, 12. I can get 20 of these truck boxes out of 1 sheet of cardstock. That is some very basic math for you. Now, if you want to make 20, go to town. If you were just making a handful of them, though, you could. If you took a piece that was like, say, 3 by 7.5, and then score it all at the same time, so you're holding on to a bigger piece, and then just cut, right? So you would know that this one would have 2 score lines, and then a cut, and 2 score lines, and then a cut, right? So once you get more familiar with the boxes, you'll be able to mass produce the boxes, because sometimes you're dealing with a fairly small piece of paper, which is why I find using this side easier. So I'm going to go and score 1/2 inch here. And I'm just going to flip because it's easier, and score another 1/2 inch. These are going to fold up, and they're going to be these 2 sides, right? And that is, you can't really see the score lines, but I've just scored these 2 lines at 1/2 inch. Then I need to score them 1/2 inch on either one of these ends too. The scoring is easy. The scoring is usually, because you're making a box, right? So usually, unless you're making something very creative, usually all 4 score lines are the same, right? This is 1/2 inch on each side because I want my box to be even. It's the middle part, like, so how wide you need the box and how deep you need the box is what's going to change. And that's what makes the math. Like, you have to figure out how big the starting piece is. Generally, once you get the starting piece, once you've figured out all the math, you just figure out what your sides are and you score them all the same. Right? You got to figure out what the piece of paper is. So for the sake of making this something you can actually see, I'm just going to fold crooked in this case, but I'm just going to fold on the score lines, because I realize now on white paper, I think that makes it a bit easier. So you can see now that I've taken my little thing. This one is folded too. And I've scored 1/2 inch all the way around on my piece of paper. So I've got a 3/4 inch by 2 inch square in the center with 1/2 inch all around. Now, you need to make tabs to turn this into a box. In the case of this truck, because this thing sticks out a little bit more, it doesn't really matter which way I fold the tabs because I don't see the end of the truck. If you're making a box like this treat, where you see the front, so this is the leading edge here, you want this to be as pretty as possible. So when I made this box, I made sure that the tabs and the fold marks oh, a little bit, are on this side. So you can see here's where the joint is, right? So it's not like it's horrible. You can just kind of see it. So I make sure that the joints are in the back and the pretty leading edge is in the front. So on some treat boxes, that's going to matter. In this one, it doesn't. So to make your tabs, and whether you make your tabs go this way or this way, it's the same rule. Okay, if I try to hold it up so you can see, then I can't see. So I'm going to do it this way. I'll give running commentary for the stuff you can't see. So I have a score line here. So this is the flat part. The biggest chunk is generally the part you want to save. The littlest part is the tab. So I'm going to cut just to the left of the score line because I'm basically cutting the score line off. Otherwise, you get a bumpy edge. And then I'm going to miter it. And I'll show you when I put it together why we're going to miter it. We're just going to take out a corner. And you'll see on the other one when we do it why that matters even more. But so same thing on this one. I'm cutting just off the score line. So the score line is, can I make that work? Oh, almost. I think part of it is I have to be more patient. Come on. Okay, so the score line is right here, right on this edge. I've cut it off. You can't, it's not ever going to focus. So there we go. And then I miter. And that is so when I fold this up and I tuck this in and I make my nice clean tabs, I don't have a big bulky score line here. And these little miters, put my scissors down, these little miters are so when I fold this over and I make my corners go together, I can squish this down and make this corner go so that this surface is flat, right? Because if not, sometimes, you know, when you try to fold and you do this, it's because if the score line is off just by a little, and I mean, the score line's, I don't know, it's the 32nd of an inch wide. Yeah, see, I figured if I held it there, it would focus, but it's not. But you can see this part that's sticking up. I've exaggerated it, but so because of the width of the score line, when you fold, sometimes you get it off a little bit. Well, I want this to be perfectly straight. So I've taken this bulk out here so that when I fold it, I can push it down and make sure it's straight. And so I don't have this little chunk sticking up. That's the point of the miter. And because it does not matter at all on this thing that I'm making, I'm going to show you that you could do the same thing this way. If this was the big piece, I cut off the score line, I miter. So that's what I meant by the whichever way your tabs go. I cut off the score line and I miter. So in either case, I'm still going to fold these in and fold them up, right? But in this case, I can see the joint right there. And in this one, I see the joint on this side. If it matters, see where the joints are? If it matters, then figure out which way you want to joint. So this one, it doesn't matter. Oh, the immortal question. Tear and tape or liquid glue? For me, the answer is always tear and tape. I did use liquid glue to put all these little bits and pieces on. Here's the thing. I've made enough of these, and it's just my personality, that I'm going with the most permanent, least forgiving method, because I have that much confidence in my crafting, I guess. You do have a bit more time and a bit more play if you use liquid glue. I use tear and tape for pretty much everything. The reason I used liquid glue on this was because the pieces were so small, and sometimes you're spending so much time trying to rip your tear and tape into small enough pieces, it's easier just to use it. But for putting, like, assembling things in that, oh no, I'm tear and tape all the way. So in this case, you're putting your adhesive on all the tabs, right? And they're going to be on the same side of all of the tabs. Now I probably should put the part that's going to connect, but I'm not yet. I just want to show you how the box goes together. I also normally would burnish these, but I didn't, and I've already pulled the stuff off. So we're just going with it like this. So again, we're just going to fold them over. I usually put my finger here to squish the corners down to make a nice, like, make it as even as possible. And then just go around and make your corners. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to do this, if there's an order to do it in. I don't know. And you'll notice I'm also a rebel, and I pulled all 4 pieces of tear and tape off all at once. If you're using liquid glue, you want to, like, glue one tab, because you'll be way messier. But I find with the tear and tape, I'm fine. So there we go. I have a teeny tiny little truck box now that's going to go between 2 trucks. And if you're wondering why there's not 2 trucks, it's so I could remember to tell you some stuff about the punch. Builder punches are awesome, but builder punches can also waste paper. And they can make a mess in your craft room because all the little bits and pieces go flying everywhere if you punch like I do. So this is the punch. I need a piece of cardstock. So if I went to punch like this, I'm punching out an extra window, an extra tire, and an extra fender that I don't need. So if I needed all of these in the same color, great, this is perfect. Or if I was stamping and I wanted to punch them all out, that's perfect. But in this case, all I want is the truck. So I cut my stuff into a strip, and I did the same thing. I took out my handy dandy ruler and I measured from the top of the truck to the bottom of the tire is just over an inch. I don't want to make it too short because if you're too close to the edge, instead of getting a nice clean cut, it pushes on your paper and that's what gives you the rough punches, right? So this is, I think I made this 1.5 inches. And now when I put it in here, I can't avoid it 100%, but I've wasted a whole lot less paper this way. I could, if I made it a 1/4 inch shorter, you can see how much is hanging over there. I wouldn't get as clean a cut. So that's why I did that. The other thing I noticed quite by fluke yesterday is when I went to make the windows on the truck, I had punched like this. And I went to punch out just like white windows is what I started to do. I just went to punch the windows out. And when I went like this to punch the windows out, I noticed that the window direction on the punch is opposite. And I was like, I wonder. And sure enough, so I made myself a little template. Sure enough, I'm going to do it this way because I didn't actually make an extra truck to show you. I guess I'm getting out a few extra pieces here. Lord knows I don't have a shortage of paper. Okay, so here's my truck. So if I actually wanted to punch out a window, I made this little template and all I did was stuck it in the corner, punched it out, and then trimmed around so I could see what the window is. So if I actually wanted to go in and punch a hole so that I actually had a truck window in my truck, if I want to put like a piece of window sheet behind it, or if I just wanted to look cool like an open window, then when I looked at this, I'm like, this is the right direction. So what I can do, now this is where black's not going to come in handy because only I'm going to be able to see it. But let's see. So I took my little template and I made sure that I had a nice little even thing around and my window was where it should be. And I traced it with my pencil. And you can almost see that I did that. Oh, there we go. Right? So I traced it with my pencil. So now my window is lined up where I want it to be. Now, when I go into my punch, my window is the right direction. What are you doing there, rascal? Now, I did spend a little bit of time getting this to go. And this is where your take your pick tool will come in super handy. Because now I'm just lining my window up and I almost did it like just from the start, but I can do it this way. And then once you get it where you want, I'm going to squeeze a little bit. So I can see my pencil now inside my punch. Okay, it's not 100% lined up because I'm trying to show you guys, but you can see the pencil line inside the punch. So now, when I punch, sorry, I got bits and pieces everywhere. The suspense is killing you, I know. Here we go. Look at that. I just punched my window out. I don't know if you knew you could do that, but ta-da! So my little template that I made just made it easier to make sure it was in the right spot. I could punch a truck out and then just jam it in there and punch and hope for the best. But making that template made my window go where it was supposed to. So truck template, there you go. Anyhow, I now have 2 trucks and I have my little box. So this is all I did, again with the Terra tape. Just gotta find the end because right now I can't. There we go. So, and you could have put this on ahead of time, but it's easy with this box. So I made my piece of Terra tape a little bit too long here. There we go. Back in the day when we had I think it was called sticky tape, and it was orange, and it was the same thing. It was like the super adhesive. It was in the same roll, and it was in the same size and everything. Oh, see, that just reminded me of something else I was supposed to tell you. I'll tell you on the next one, because I remember it on the next one. It had the red kind of reddish orange backing that you had to peel off. You pretty much had to cut with scissors. It was a pain in the butt. This tear and tape is so much easier. So to put it on afterwards is not really a big deal. So I put the tear and tape on one side. And I'm going to, and again, I normally probably would put them, take both off at once. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick my box between my two trucks. Now the first one's easy. Again, I'm trying to do it so you can see it, and so I can't really see very well, but I'm going to line it up as close as I can to the bottom of this, and I'm just going to make sure it's kind of centered between the pieces I want it to be centered between. There we go. I'm going to turn it just so I can actually see what I'm doing, because I think I got it a little crooked. There we go. Okay, so I've decided this is where it's going to go, right? So give it a nice little rub with the tear and tape. I have half my treat holder done. Now, I'm going to take the other side off. Now, depending on what you're doing, depends on how easy this is. Some items, you can go like this and just kind of line them up really easily and do it this way. And this is usually the easiest way to do it. So in this case, so I'm going to touch my truck, and I'm trying to see that I'm lining it up on the same things as I did on the other side. And I'm just very lightly sticking it. Like, it's not totally adhered yet. It would fall off if I shook this, I think, to see. And then I'm going to hold it and look at it this way, and I'm going to let go of it and make sure it sits somewhat straight. So in this case, believe it or not, I actually got it pretty good on the first try. If not, shift it around a little bit so you can get it right, and then give it the good burnish. Sometimes it's really hard to see, or it's really, if it's really an uneven bottom, or the bottom, like this teacup, as cute as this teacup is a pain in the butt because the bottom is rounded. So when it sits at an angle until it's full, right? See, if I was to do this, it rolls, it won't sit straight, right? Once you put the stuff in it, it sits nice on the table. But when it's empty, and sometimes it does sit slightly cockeyed, but there we go. So this one was harder to do. So sometimes the easiest thing to do is just lay it like this and go over top and do it. Or put it like this and just eyeball it from this side. So whatever it takes to get it centered. Now there's your truck. Now I'm only going this far on this one to show you, but look, I have two little white trucks now. Okay, so, and this is exactly what I did, because again, this is kind of how I roll. I made my truck and I made it all into a little box, and then I added all the pieces onto it because then I had something bigger to hold on to. If your preference in crafting, and this is left, these are, where'd my other piece go? I have leftover pieces all over the desk all of the time. I had a spare fender here somewhere too, but I don't know where it went. If your preference is to actually adhere and decorate everything before you put it on the truck, that's your choice too. Whatever's easiest. So yeah, in this case, I punched out my fenders out of the same color. I have the truck base, then the black tire, then the fender, and then these little silver pearls to look like hubcaps. And then I just punched a little white window out and stuck it on. And like I said, I did on both sides. And this is going to be on the table at the trucking along class with hopefully, well, definitely not these kisses, because like I said, I don't even know how old these are. But hopefully with little green trees in the back. Oh, here we go. So that's method number one, make a box. Method number two is we're just going to make like the three sides to put it in between. Now, would you like a little insight into Tracey's brain? Stand back. This might be a little scary. So these are I showed you these the other day. These are the deckled circles. And if you're wondering, if you're trying to get the scale of this, because it does look huge, and actually how many, it says right on the case, there's 14 of them in here. If you want to know how big this biggest circle is, look at your die cut machine. Because your die cut machine, see where my thumbs are? That's about how wide your die cut machine is. It's the width of the die cut machine. It's as big as it can be and still fit through that die cut machine. That's how big that circle is. It's awesome. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with it yet. I kind of envision, like, it would make great, like, you could have like placemats with, like, for teacups or whatever cup you're putting on it, like where you could like stamp or write on it. If you made it like a tree with a tree. Oh, anyways, there's lots of things. But would you like to know what the first thing I saw when I looked at these was? Now, was I hungry when I looked at them? Possibly. Could it just be that I absolutely 100% love, like any shape, form, size, color, you name it, tacos. Because people, that's what I saw when I looked at the deckled dies. I saw tacos. And I'm holding this kind of a weird way because I don't want all my tomatoes to fall out. That's right. These cinnamon candies, which maybe not everybody loves. And if I was mass producing these for somebody else, I would have picked a different candy, but I would have still picked red so it looked like tomatoes. But because the edge is rough, that's what I saw. I saw a taco. Oh, there we go. Finally focused. And I love this taco set, which is still current. So I'm going to show you how to make a taco. And it's just because of how it works. The same theory would work to make any kind of shape that you can fold. If you fold a square in half, it'll work. Oh, I actually said I was going to do 3 sides, and I'm doing the 2-sided one. I'm doing them out of order. Oh, well, we're going with it. So yeah, I picked red candies so they look like tomatoes. So if I turn it this way, I have the taco, I have the lettuce, and then I have this. Now, I probably could have embossed the taco if I wanted, and it would have given me even more of the like corn texture. I just realized this is not taped on very well. It would have given me even more of like the corn tortilla texture type, but I don't tend to emboss. I mean, I might put an embossed layer on top of a treat holder, but I don't tend to put it. I've decided now instead of the tape, because I put it over top of these two. I'm putting. What am I putting? These things. Dimensionals, little mini dimensionals. And so because I want to place them, we're going to take Tamara's Secret. And instead of putting dimensionals on the chili pepper, I just put the dimensionals here. And then I'm just going to stick the chili to it so that I know that no matter where I put the chili, the dimensionals will hit. There we go. Okay, back to what I was saying. Yeah, if I emboss this layer, it makes it a little softer, right? It starts to break down the fiber so it's not as stiff. I want these tortillas, these treat holders to last as long as possible. So in this case, I didn't. You probably could have stamped on it or something to make it look like that. But honestly, I think this taco is pretty darn cute just the way it is. So this is just like some rough hand lettuce. I'll show you in a minute. And then the candies. So now that I've gone to all that work to keep the candies in, I will show you that this treat holder is the simplest of the treat holders in the fact that it just has 2 edges to it. It's a piece of cardstock folded with 2 edges. Okay, so I'm going to put the candies back in. And I did, in this case, it has 6 candies because I needed that many candies to make the ones on top stick up enough to look like tomatoes. So yeah, that one did have a bit of thought going to it. So where did I do it? There it is. So I cut a smaller circle for this too, because I just randomly guessed. I'm like, I don't know, let's see this one. Just to try what circle it was. But then again, the smaller you try something, the cuter it is. So here's a circle. And like I said, this could be an oval, this could be a square, this could be whatever. I see tacos. And of course, now I'm quite hungry now. All I can think about is tacos. It's probably all you can think about too. You're welcome. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm looking at this circle, and it's about 3.5 inches. Now, based on my past thing of 3/4 of an inch, when I made this one, and because honestly, the math is easier. I have no idea what's going in this treat holder at the moment, but I'm like, it's probably going to, so I went with 1/2 inch. So I want to make 1/2 inch fold in the middle to make the bottom of the taco. Okay, so this is 3.5. I want 1/2 in the middle. So I'm going to go in 1.5 on each side to get my 1/2, right? So here's how you want to make sure you get your lines straight when you do this. So out comes my trusty little trimmer again. You can do this with a scoring table as well if you have it. I tend to use my trimmer a lot more just because then I can, if I have to cut something, it's right there. And I still have the blade off. Okay, so I'm lining this up so that my circle, this is the 1.5 inch mark. So I'm lining it up so my circle is there. Okay, so I'm going to get my first score line at 1.5 inches. Now, I also need to score this one at 1.5 inches. Now, I happen to know for this one that this is like the 1.5 inch mark. So I can just butt the corner of this up against it. And I know that I'm at the 1.5 inch line. Now, this was without even planning. This is just how I laid this down. Nope, unfortunately, you can't see it. Okay, so here's the score line I just did. It starts over here and it ends over there. So yes, it's crooked. Now I don't want that. So yes, I need this to be at the 1.5 inch mark, but I need this to be square. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this circle and I'm going to put it back at the 1.5 here. So you can't quite see my score line. And my score line doesn't line up with any of these lines, but I can use that line as a bit of a guidance to get my score line to be going straight. Okay, so I have to move this down so I can actually see. And if it helps, maybe it'll help you guys see too. I'm just going to fold this. I'm not like 100% burnishing it, but I'm going to fold it. So maybe that makes more sense to you. And it definitely makes it easier for me to see when I do this. Okay. So when I did it the first time, my score line was like this, just when I laid it down automatically, like it was like cockeyed. So by doing it this way, I want it at 1.5, but this is what I'm doing. I'm making this line, my score line, run parallel, even just to this, right? So, and I can just tell by eyeballing it, okay, now we're pretty much right there. Now we're pretty much square with the world. And then make sure this is at the 1.5 inch mark, and then I can score. So now when I fold my two pieces, my taco's even, because otherwise it would be like kitty wampus, right? So now it's even. So that's the first part. I just folded a piece in half, and now I'm going to make two sides to it. And this time I'm going to remember to burnish my fold marks, which is what I should have done on the other one. Now, all on its own, depending what you were making as your treat, here's your taco. You could just put like glue dots on either side and stick a treat between it, and it would still look cute. But if you want the person to be able to get the treat out and not destroy the treat holder, then you want to make it into like a box. But pause for tea. Okay, so when I made this taco, I was so excited. I put the taco together before I even put the lettuce on it. I would recommend doing that before you assemble it, but it's whichever way. So we're going to try it both ways. So in the case of this lettuce, and again, I'm trying not to, oh, here, we'll just dump them. I didn't want one solid piece. Like I could have cut it and mitered it and made it turn, but I just wanted like chunks of lettuce. Yeah, putting green behind to show you the green, that wasn't the best idea. So here's all I did. And you would think this is easy, but quite honestly, you actually have to get used to it and be a little more rough than you think. So this is the piece I already used. So when you're cutting, keep your scissors straight and move your paper. Now, if you just wiggle a little bit, you don't actually get enough. You have to make some more dramatic turns with your paper if you want to get enough. Like, and I don't want this to be even. This is lettuce, right? The best part of this lettuce is it's tear and tape to the side of the taco, and it's not going to end up in your lap. But this is lettuce. It's not going to be even. So that's all I did. There's my lettuce. Oops. I did get a little big at the end because I was laughing to myself about my joke about the lettuce not ending up in your lap. Oh, I have no idea where that piece went. And then I just cut it into 3 pieces. And yep, tear and tape. And so here's the thing. I love tear and tape. Tear and tape sometimes is too wide. So if it's too wide for what you're doing, I have to put it on before I can show you. So just do this, right? So I'm just going to put it on. I'm going to pull the backing off because I don't want, like I want more sticking up than it shows. If you can't get the backing off, burnish it down more because that's the problem is you're pulling everything out. So you see how it's kind of half off, and I just fold it over. Now I got double them. And then I'm just sticking it underneath here so my lettuce sticks up. I could put lettuce on both sides, yes. I didn't. For the sake of this, and because I have a separate pair of scissors that are specific to cutting adhesive, because don't be cutting adhesive with my good snips. I'm just going to do this cheat, and I'm going to put this down the middle. So there's another trick for you. And then I'm going to take out my gummy adhesive scissors, and I'm just going to cut down the middle. And now I have two narrow pieces of tear and tape. Okay, and then I'm going to take this piece. And I'm going to put it over here on this side. Oops. I'm going to put it so the adhesive's actually on the right side. How about I try that? Adhesive. And then I'm going to take this one. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm way past the half-hour mark. I just realized what time it was. And I'm going to put this here. I tell you, I love making these, as you may have noticed. And once I start, I can't stop. So, okay, so there's my lettuce. Now, I'm not going to fully decorate this one but I'm going to show you how it goes together. Now, if you don't want to put red candies in it, if you want to put chocolate bars or something, you could stick some, like here, a second favorite adhesive, glue dots. And this was one of the wheels that punched out when I was punching the truck. So I'm just going to take the wheel. I'm just going to trim it a little bit because when you chop up tomatoes, they're not perfectly round circles. So there we go. I just cut a chunk of red cardstock, stuck a glue dot on it, and put it between the lettuce. So there, now I have tomatoes in my taco. So decorate. I mean, you could put, I guess you could probably put little, these ones aren't necessarily big enough, but if you had little red pearls or red somethings, you could add it. So do your decorating. It's probably easier this way. If you were going to stamp, definitely stamp it before you make it unflat. So this piece is left over from when I made the big taco. But I'm going to show you that. So to figure out, so I want to do this, right? So I'm doing the same thing that I did the last time. I'll do it on here just to, nope, that one's not wide enough. Okay, so this is so I need to make the two sides that go here. So here's a piece in this case. Oops, there we go. I'm at 1 5/8. And this is just leftover, but it probably will work by 2 3/4. Now, all I want to do is put two pieces. Still got a candy wedged in there. I just want to put two pieces, and I think you can see I'm just tear and taping them to each side, right? And I'm just making two sides to my little fold. I make these little fold marks, which are the part that is going to have the adhesive on it, 3/8 of an inch wide. Seriously, what did I do with my tear and tape? There it is. And the reason I make them 3/8 of an inch wide is because I find that a 1/4 inch wide is a little too narrow for the tear and tape, but 3/8 of an inch is perfect. Now, if you're using liquid glue, make them a 1/4 inch. Pretty sure it's more than enough to hold them secure. Mine is based on tear and tape, because if it's 1/4 inch, it hangs over just that little bit, and then you're always folding just that little bit. This is the 1/2 inch in the middle because this is a 1/2 inch on the bottom, right? So my piece of cardstock is 3/8, 1/2, 3/8, because it's going to fold and fit like this. For how long you need it, you kind of have to look at this. So when I made this one, I just basically, oh, I guess I can do it on this one because I can just flip it over. I'm just going to go like this, right? And I'm going to put my little side in. Now, if I went here, I would have oops, turn this sideways. If I put my side there, I'd have a very wide box, but it would be very shallow on the end. So if I had a solid, like this cookie, if I was putting this cookie in, well, the cookie might actually fit. If I just do a little like futzing with the packaging, I could fit this cookie in. So if this is the cookie that I'm putting in, then I want my sides to be over here. Sorry. If I want to put something taller, I definitely need to have more side, or the thing's just going to constantly fall over. So depending what you're putting in here is what you want to decide. For the ease of today's video, you want to know how I'm deciding? And you could do this. If you were making 100 of these, then this could be what you use to decide. I'm taking this piece, which, what did I say? Is 1 3/4, which means that the halfway mark is 1 3/8. Which is right there. And I'm just going to cut it in half because that's what's easiest right now. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to peel off my sticky. And yep, I'm peeling off both sides because once it's in there, it's going to be hard to peel off. So this one is intentionally peeling off both sides. Now I'm going to hold it, like squish it so it's like this so that the sides are not instantly connecting. And I'm going to find where along here this fits, which is right about, ooh, that's way too long. Okay, in this case, I thought I could just do that, but I can't, because for me to make this fit, here, I can do this, it's going to be here, which means that the treat holder is going to be this wide. So where I thought I was saving paper by not having to cut again, ooh, this is like way too long. So now I'm going to use that as my measurement later. I'm going to do this. So now I'm going to go over here to the side because I cut that much off. So I'm basically just finding where's the width. So yeah, this is going to be perfect for that cookie. And I'm just putting this in and I'm sticking it between the two legs, right? So yes, you could have like legitimately figured out where you were putting it and measured, or you can just wing it like I do. In this case, I don't actually have I didn't have a plan for what was going in it. So there you go. And there, see, that's how I measured. The part I cut off the other one, I cut off this one, now they're the same height. Oh, I'm giving you all sorts of tips and tricks. It's more of just I don't know, here's my trial and error and how things work out. But they do work out. And I mean, worst case scenario, I screw this up, I have to cut another chunk, which means this piece here, which was a scrap from cutting the circle, it probably would have worked. So now same thing. I'm going to turn my taco so that I'm using my right hand because I'm right-handed. And the same thing, I'm just going to go, I've taken my tear and tape off. I've squished these two pieces together because the first one's way easier. The first one you can lay the taco open to do, but the second one it's half closed, right? So I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going to go down and I'm going to figure out, oops. Again, this is much easier. I'm making it look harder, but when you're doing it and you're looking at things the way you would normally look at them like this, it's way easier. But if I do this, you can't see anything. So I have to do this, which then makes it harder for me to see what I'm doing. So same thing, we're just going to go down and we're going to find where the little sweet spot is on here. And we're just going to pop that guy in there. We're going to make sure he's nice and straight, and we're going to squish the sides. So you see on this one how the side is now over top of the lettuce. Like I said, when I did the other one, I was so excited about my taco. See how I did this? I cannot now carry on with what I am doing. That was not the right color red. We had Poppy Parade on this one. I cannot carry on with what I'm doing unless I put a second tomato in there, because it looks very funny to me with only one tomato and that other gap doesn't have one. So stand by one. Sometimes Tracey has little obsessions and has to address them first. Okay, so I just cut another like completely random shape scrap and put a glue dot on it. There we go. Now I've got 2 tomatoes. And actually, I would probably put 2 more down here. Of course, now that I said that, I'm going to be obsessed with that. But anyways, so whatever shape you're doing and whatever you decide you're doing, that's where you're going to decide to set these like side pieces. This one, they overlap the green a little bit because I did the decorating first. This one, because I was all excited, I put the box together and then went, oops, I forgot to put the lettuce in. But the way the lettuce worked, it's not really in the way. And if it was, I mean, I think I trimmed one little piece here so it would sit flatter, right? So it's just as easy to do it afterwards as it was to do it before. So I don't know. Again, is there a right or wrong? I don't know. Put my candies back in there. So in this case, and I do have, because I told you I love tacos. When this taco set came out, I went to town. I love to color and I love to fussy cut. I'm going to do a test one time. Name things Tracey loves. So, no, not that one. That one says nacho on it. Okay, I want the holy guacamole. It's your birthday. But I have a piece of yellow stuck to the back of it. So, no, I guess we're going with your nacho. So you can't say nacho because it's a taco. Sometimes I have spare parts. So let's just see if I can. Here's another trick. Don't try to pull something off and completely mangle the front piece, because that's what would have happened. I would have bent the bejesus out of this front piece. There we go. Back's removed. So holy guacamole, it's your birthday. What did I do? There we go. That's my dimension. I told you I wasn't going to decorate it. Well, guess what? I'm decorating. But I'm just making it simpler than the last one. I just figured I had an extra sentiment. So I could add all sorts of things to it. But let's just go like this. Because these things are pretty, they can be as simple or as elaborate as you want. I do like to keep things simple. So this one now says, holy guacamole, it's your birthday. There. Done. It's crooked. I just realized that now as I look at it. And I'm going to take this cookie, because now we made it so the cookie fits. And there you go. So if you had like some taco loving people, of course, now that I did that, you can't see the tomatoes, and I could have just went with the red cookie. But if you have people like, wouldn't this be cute if you worked somewhere, school, office building, wherever, and on somebody's birthday, they came in and there was like a little taco with a cookie in it sitting there that said, "Holy guacamole, it's your birthday." I guess it would, Tracy. You're right. Thank you. Okay. Last one, because I realize how long this is going now. Okay, so this was supposed to be the second one. I just wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing. Okay. This one's going to go faster though. So the other option you have for making a treat. Remember when I showed you the tea bag? And I said we have a similar die this year. So when you're making with dies, a lot of times you can take a die, make 2 of them, flip one over so that you got the pretty side out, and it works perfect. Sometimes when you flip a die, it doesn't line up. So sometimes if you make 2 die cuts, you actually have to set them like so both sides are good together. But in this case, it works that I can put the stitch side out. So whichever side I look at is pretty. Now, generally, when you're doing something, there is a front to it. So it's not the end of the world if you had to have your 2 die cuts like this. But with this one, I'm going to make this sit like this so it looks like a name tag. Right? I want the treat to sit like this. So what I need is something to go here, here, and here. So I need 3 sides. I don't need a whole box. I need 3 sides. So very similar to what I just did on that last one. And this one, I'm not going to draw a picture or anything because I'm going to show you. Once you get used to doing things. And this one, I actually have a plan for what's going inside of it. And it's bigger. So that's why I wanted a bigger treat holder. So in this case, I need 2 inches. And then I need 2.5 inches. And then I need 2 inches. So 2, 2, and 2.5. 2, 4, 6.5. So I need a 6.5 inch strip. And because this is what's going in it, and this is just shy of 3/4, I need it to be 3/4 wide. So here's what I'm doing. I'm making a chunk. So this is just a chunk of paper. This is soft seafoam in case you can't see what color it goes. This was chunks that I've been cutting chunks off of to like die cut things out of. So it is just like a rough chunk. And I'm just going to go, because this is crafting on the fly. If you're making a bunch of things, plan. But if you're not, I can just show you how it works. So I'm going to put this back in because I am going to actually need to cut on this one. So what did I say I needed? I needed 6.5. I need 2, 2.5, 2. So that's 6.5. And then I needed a 3/4 inch center. So because I know I need tear and tape. Oh, actually, sorry. So the first thing you need to do is actually measure and make sure that this is 6.5. So this is actually just over 6 3/4. So it's going to work out perfectly. And that is totally fluke. So I'm going to go to 3/8 of an inch. And I'm leaving this big because I can. I'm going to go to 3/8 of an inch because that's my first tear and tape roll. And then, okay, it's not scoring as well because it's not actually on a flat surface. So just a second. There we go. Okay, so I've got my 3/8 inch line. So that's my tear and tape. Now, I'm just pushing this over so that my line is now at 3/4 because now I know my score will be at 3/4. You can flip it around the other way and measure, but I do it that way. And then I need another 3/8 of an inch, which coincidentally will take me right to the 1.5 mark. And then I cut my strip off. So instead of cutting the piece to begin with, I now know that I have a 6.5 inch, a 6.5 inch piece that is 1.5 inches wide. It has 3/8, 3/4, 3/8. So it's wide enough for my Smarty Box. That's what it was. And my 2 strips of tear and tape. And then I'm going to go back in. This one I might, nope. Say I should have moved the binder that's on my desk. Oh, there we go. I just tucked it under. So now I need the 2 inches. I made my clipboard fall down and get in my way. So I need 2 inches, which is this piece. Oopsie, I just about did it. I just about cut 2 inches. And then I'm going to go to 4.5 because I need the middle section to be 2.5 inches. And then the last one is 2. So now I've got my piece. For the sake of this, I will score it first so you can see what I'm doing. Or sorry, I will burnish it first. Somebody asked me at our midweek escape card making yesterday because I had these silicone mats on the table, what they were. And so I said the silicone mats are mostly like they're for adhesive, so you don't get sticky everywhere because they're easy, you just can wipe them off. But I also said, and I said it jokingly, but it is so true. it tends to be what I craft on because I generally don't have enough room on my desk for anything bigger than this little square. So you notice I do tend to do this. Okay, so here's what I made. So I made this, and it's not going to totally do because I haven't cut it. So here's my two sides. And for some reason, this is not even, just a minute. Where's my, oh, there we go. I think I might have cut this too long to begin with. Or oh no, you know why? That's why. Because remember how I said it's just over 6 3/4? Yeah, I forgot to go back and actually trim this to the right size. So even worse is trying to get my trimmer to fit with the little extended arm. Okay, so I forgot to actually make this 6 1/2. Right. I just left it at the original size. So that's why. But as soon as I folded it, I knew it was wrong. So it's usually crooked is obvious. Okay. Oh, crafted on the fly now. I'm trying to speed up because the concepts are all the same at a certain point. Okay, so there's my two sides. There's my middle. So I'm going to need to cut. I can't fold this all up. I need to get the bulk out of these corners. So I'm going to miter them. I'm going to get like the 45-degree angles and everything. Again, there it is. I keep misplacing. Every time I put my tear and tape down, I put it somewhere different. But I'm going to show you what I do because it's a lot easier. I'm going to put tear and tape on this entire side. Again, liquid glue, you can cut first. But if you're doing tear and tape, I recommend put the tear and tape on first. And you'll see why in a minute. Okay, this time I'm going to actually put it where it belongs. Maybe next time I'll find it. Okay, so this is my corner, right? So what I need to do is I need to make a shallow. So instead of a sharp angle, I need a shallow angle. And I need to cut a triangle out here. Now, these are meant to be 45 degrees. So if you imagined, here's your math lesson for today. If you imagined this square is 90, 45 is half of it. I eyeball. I don't measure. I just eyeball. And I know if I went like this, it's too sharp. It's not the right angle. But I know if I go out wide, and I'm just basically going to the corner from out and cutting two triangles out. And you could always trim it afterwards if you need to. But I don't know, after a while, you just kind of get a feel for it. So now when I fold this and I put it in my box, see how there's no bulk in there anymore? Like I cut more than I needed to, but it's still fine. So if you're doing really good woodworking and you did like exactly 45, it would meet like this in the corner. This would be square, but it would meet like that. Right? But this has done it. So for me, now when I put this inside, I don't have a whole bunch of bulk here. That's the whole point of what I was doing. But you see how the pieces are now. So if I had cut the triangle cut the triangle out first and then tried to put my tear and tape, I'd have all these like angles, right? And if I didn't get my tear and tape all the way to the edge, this corner would be weak. So instead of trying to get my tear and tape and then try to get it to match all these different angles, I just put one and trim it out. And yes, I did use my good snips for it because I find my other ones are too sticky in it and they don't work. But in this case, because the leading edge of what I'm going through is actually the cover, not the adhesive, I don't know, I find it doesn't make my stuff sticky. So that's the one exception to my rule is I will do this. Okay, so I've cut on both sides now. I have cut my triangles up. So now when I make my box shape, you see how nice and easily it folds because I've taken all the bulk out. So we're doing the same thing we did the last time. This is the back piece. Okay, so you see the nice good stitched edge. So I'm flipping it over so that I have the rougher side on the inside. And I'm going to take all three pieces because I'm a rebel. And I'm going to do this. And I know that my piece, because I measured it, is going to be just up from this corner. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this edge straight. I'm actually going to turn it this way so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put this edge straight, like square with the world straight, just above the stitching and going straight up this edge. There we go. So there's my stitching. So it ends, oops, I keep going off. So it ends just before the stitching there and it goes, you can't tell because I got this thing bent, but see how it's straight, like it's going straight up and down. Then I'm going to take the next one and I'm going to go keep it just above the stitching, which makes it nice and straight. And then I'm going to squish it down. And then I'm going to take the last one and same thing. I'm just going to make sure that my edge is straight and I'm going to squish it down. So now I have 1/2 of my box. So this is, like I said, I did them out of order because I wasn't paying attention. I was so excited about the taco. So you can make a full box. You can make just like kind of 3 sides to go in between, or you could just fold your paper and make 2 edges. In all these cases, the scenario or the theory behind it is the same, because now I'm doing this and now I have my same end result is a pouch to put something in. So this is another one of those ones where it should work. And because I never actually finished this treat, because I was running out of time and I didn't want to be late to start, because I knew for sure I was going to be late going over. I didn't realize it was going to be quite this late going over, but there we go. This is one of those ones, because it's so flat on the bottom, I should be able to just go like this, stand it up, match these treats together, and squish it in. And I think it would work. If not, you can do it this way, right? Let's see if I can do it. You could line it up where you put the bottom piece down and go like this and just line it up. And in this case, I have to hold it at an angle where I can see, but it's probably going to work. So if I just like roughly fit using this corner as an anchor and the stitch line, and I put like this without squishing this box down, I can see that I did a surprisingly good job of evening this out, right? So whichever works. So now I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to go in, because my fat little fingers aren't going to fit. I'm just going to use my bone folder, and I'm going to squish down all those 3 sides, right? Ta-da! Now my box of Smarties fits in there, because that's what was going. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Tracey, whack job. I need my piece of ribbon. Tracey, you whack job. That's not pretty. Look at, you made this nice tag, and then you have this like ugly box of Smarties sticking out. Well, you would be right. But my design, which is not 100% finished, but it was designed in my head, was designed to cover some of the treat. And actually, I was going to say sometimes there's a better way to put it. So in this case, like maybe white's better. Looks a bit like snow, but then you see writing. So you just got to pick and choose. Sometimes you can't win and you just have to do ugly. But in this case, I have this tree, which is already pre-done, which was going to cover a whole bunch of it. And so I'm trying to cover up as much as I can. Sometimes you just got to have it. Now, I have several family members who love Smarties. So any one of my family members that loves the Smarties, who sees a box of Smarties in their treat, oops, I should have paid attention to where I was putting that. I just got to move that over a little bit. They wouldn't care that they saw the Smartie box, because they would be excited it was a Smartie box. But sometimes you can make your design a certain way. My vision for these was table treats, or like placemats, because this looks like a name tag to me, right? A tag. So I put like this. This was my plan. And so I am covering up some of it, but I'm hoping that there's enough on the front that it distracts people. And then, and it takes me like 6 tries to get this right. This is the new ribbon it's very cool looking ribbon in the online exclusive. And I needed red ribbon. I'm trying to make the loop so that the loop goes like the loop I want. And seriously, every time I do it, this might be backwards, but in the sake of time, I'm just going to feed this through here. And I'm going to feed this through here. At this point, we're talking purely decorative and not at all functional. So does it really matter? No. And then because I don't want to rip my paper. I've ripped my paper many a time pulling on ribbon. So I'm just going to do this because I've already, oh, look at that. Believe it or not, I got it right. I got it the way I wanted. I just have to pull it through a little bit more. There we go. Oh, no, I didn't. I got it backwards. I wanted this to be on the front. Oops, sorry, I'm off scale. I wanted that to be on the front, but it doesn't matter. So there's my name tag. And this ribbon is looks better on one side than the other. So here's another tip for you. Just maneuver it the way you want. Give it a little twist, and then it will kind of hold itself together the way you want. That's a little long. The other thing I like about this ribbon, though, is if you follow the dots and you cut between the dots, you get a nice angle because the dots are offset. Okay, so there's my little dude there. And then the plan was I would put name tags on like this. So I like things that stick off the edge. So you could put a name tag on here. You could put an egg tag up here if you want to cover more of the tree, or you could just leave it pretty. I've moved this enough times. My last little thing I'm going to show you, just in case you didn't know, when you get, there's this die is in the Merriest Trees die, which I have buried. So you get all these different size trees and tags and fun ornaments and stars, and go to town. I'm going to have so much fun when I have more time to play with that. But as soon as I saw this, because I could see the samples in the catalog, and I was like, ooh, where did that come from? This die. So definitely when you make this die, you want, this is the old stuff, but I'm using it because you can see that it actually has writing on it. But you want the adhesive sheets. So the new adhesive sheets look like this. They just look like white. But you want to do that. So I've stuck a piece of adhesive sheet on the back of my cardstock before I cut it. So when I cut it and I pop this out, these are now little stickers. And do you notice, if I can hold my hand still enough, that it's a whole bunch of rows of garland or lights or whatever. Now, there's 5 of them because in the biggest tree, there's 5 branch whorls, right? I'm only using 4 branch whorls, so I don't need this bottom one. I mean, maybe I can put it somewhere else. So if I do this, and I take my little sticker off the back, like I said, you definitely want adhesive sheet on the back of this. And then I can put my little garland across. Like I said, my big fat fingers and these dainty little things don't always work. So I can put that one across there because it is perfectly sized. Because you know when you get a die cut and you use it to decorate something and you're trying to decide, well, am I going to cut this one in half, or I'm going to have this off, or is this uneven? Well, these ones, and I'm just like by fluke putting them down, these ones perfectly go edge to edge with the circles and the spacing. So they have done all the work for you, and they have cut them into 5 little strips. And if you don't have adhesive sheet and you just cut them out, these little dots, they're big enough you could put a little drop of wet glue or liquid glue on them. But adhesive sheet is definitely the way to go because it makes the whole thing into a sticker. And I'm so excited about this tree. So you could make these out of gold paper. You could make them out of the, I don't know the name of the specialty paper, but it's the disco ball one. We had it in Celebration a couple years ago, and it came back in the annual catalog in gold and silver, and it looks like a disco ball. So you could put it in that one. But look at this. Okay, I put that one a little low so it's not quite on the edge, but you get the gist, right? And I do have one left over because, like I said, I never made the full size of the tree. If I'd made the full size of the tree, it would have covered more. I could have done that, but that seemed like this was the right one. And then, like I said, put a little name tag on it or something. But that, I just thought, in case you look at this die and don't understand, right, first jab what it is garland, and it is genius, and it makes the cutest tree. I think with this one, I'm trying to think how long everybody's names are, but I would actually, even just to take like the small white tag or something, you could put presents underneath it. If depending on the name, you could put like presents in front of the tree and put like a letter in each present. Seriously, I have way too many ideas, not enough time. Or I might like just die cut out the name, and even if the name's bigger than the name tag, just to hold it as like a place. And then look, Christmas tree table settings that look like tags. All right, I've rambled on long enough, but I have had I love treat holders, and I love making them, and I have so much fun with them. So where's my other ones? Okay, I got to find them to recap. My tomatoes have all fallen out of my taco. Something you don't always hear in a crafting show, but hey, welcome to Tracey's World. Okay, so we have the fold it in half and 2 sides. We have the make it cute and make it into a box and put it between 2 punched out die cuts. And then we have the 2 die cuts with the 3 sides. And we have a whole bunch of treat holders. And that, my friends, is how it's done. Scrap paper, a pencil, a ruler, time and imagination. Go to town. I would love to see some of the treat holders people make. I just love them. I have so many ideas for treat holders, but I can always use more. And like I said, I will eventually get around to posting more tutorials and more pictures and more treat holder stuff. But going forward, I'm going to try to do it on a more regular basis. For now, I will put these measurements in so that you can make your very own cute little red truck treat holder. Here's the other thing. If you want to use this thread, when I post it on Facebook or even in the comments here, If you have any insight into any really good, cute little things like non-treat things or treat things, or even just like really good places to buy cute little individually wrapped treats that don't cost a fortune, pop those in the comments, because that can help everybody. And if you're in the US or Canada or Europe or whatever, maybe just, clarify where you are. But I don't know if I've ever actually said it. I have a Canada, like a maple leaf in my logo, so I always just assumed people would know I was Canadian, but I live in beautiful downtown Morinville, Alberta. And so yeah, when I talk about stuff I found, it's Canadian. Although my brother lives in the States, him and his lovely wife. And so between him coming up or me going down to visit, or the odd friend who goes to the States, that's my Hershey Nugget connection. I have a Hershey Nugget pipeline from the States, because those, they're hit and miss. Sometimes you can find them in Canada. Most times you can't. I get those from the States. But for the most part, the rest of it is bought fairly local to Morinville, Edmonton, St. Albert area, if that helps anybody. All right. Thank you guys all very much. Thank you for your patience. And holy cow, did I go over my time limit, but I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys will now go forth and create your treat holders. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will be back next week.